Yeah, and so I'll let Claudia take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia. I am the program coordinator with the Financial Wellness Center. I am also a Salt Lake Community College graduate, and I graduated from the University of Utah in 2019 from the Writing and Rhetoric department with a degree there. And I've been here with the Financial Wellness Center for about 4 months. So I'm happy to be back here at the U and talking to all of you. I wish I could see you. If you want to turn on your camera, I'd love that. I'd love to see your face. So some of the things that we do at the Financial Wellness Center are budgeting, investing. We have financial counselors that can meet with you one-on-one, and the sessions are confidential. And they can meet with you to talk about any financial situations in your life. So whether it's how to pay for school, or if you need to ask your boss for an increase in your salary but don't know how to do that, we can walk you through that, no problem. We can also do you can also meet with a peer mentor, and there are students who are working on their accreditation. They're also really, really great, very knowledgeable. And if you feel more comfortable meeting with another student like you, you always have that option. What else do we do? We offer workshops once a month. The one that we have coming up in November is going to be about credit cards, so how to use your credit cards wisely. We also help you with taxes come springtime. That's free as well for you as students. And we also offer a class called Start Smart that we will be having in December. And that's a salary negotiation class as well, especially for folks who are on their way out and are going to graduate. Transfer students don't have as much time between when you start at the U to graduation. So it's always a good time to start whenever you are ready, and the sooner the better. Okay, next I'd like to introduce you to Beth Hunsaker. She's our assistant director. She has been teaching personal finance here at the University of Utah for more than a decade. She is an accredited financial counselor and has met with dozens of students to help them reach financial wellness. And she will take it away.
Thank you, Claudia. Hi, it's good to see those of you on Zoom, those of you in the room. I really appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate Claudia for sharing her experience and her thoughts of being a transfer student, and also the work we do at the Financial Wellness Center. So I'm going to start this presentation. Please, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. And at the end, as we have time, I can come back. Sometimes people just have a random finance question and they don't know where to ask it. And this can actually be a really good place for that. And I'll do my very best to answer it. So I'm going to share my screen. And we'll go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to be talking about personal finance and you, and why this matters to you being a student here at University of Utah. When I talk to students, I kind of like to ask some a little bit uncomfortable questions just because it can break down some barriers. So sometimes I'll ask very pointedly, do you have a budget? Another question that I ask that I get some kind of uncomfortable responses to is, why are you in school? Why are you here? Why are you investing so much time and money to get your college education? And it's a little hard for us to say that the biggest reason we're here is to increase our earning potential. We want to make more money, right? I think most people would agree. Can I get some thumbs up on the Zoom if that's what you guys see as well? Maybe. I got some thumbs up. Okay, thank you. That's why you're here. You are smart enough to recognize that this investment in yourself, in your human capital, as economists call it, is going to give you a lifetime of higher earnings. That's a really great thing. Here at the Financial Wellness Center, we want you to maximize that. We want you to maximize that potential. It's not just the money you'll earn, it's what you're going to do with it, how you're going to make it grow. So when we look at our mission and our vision, we want to support our students by providing evidence-based tools and resources for their lifelong financial success. Our hope is not that you'll be better with your finances here. Our hope is that you'll be better with your finances your entire lives to reach that goal, whatever your financial goal might be. Yeah.
Your slide is stuck.
My what?
Your slide is stuck. It's on the first.
Oh, no. I don't know how to fix that.
Oh, oh.
Okay, maybe we'll just have to do it this way without the slideshow. Thought you said my slides sucked.
No, it's stuck.
I know, it took me a second, I was like, wait a sec. Okay, maybe we'll just have to do it this way. But we just want to support you, our students, throughout your entire lives. And we also recognize that it's not just the money that you want, but it's actually, let me see if I can minimize that. There we go. We want you to, it's what the money can do for you. It's not just that dollar amount, it's what you want to do for it. And your financial goal is going to be different than mine. We all have different financial goals. We're going to talk about what those might be coming up. Next, we also want our students to understand that personal finance is a big part of your overall well-being. If you're stressed about money, if you're wondering how you're going to pay to keep your lights on, to feed your family, it's really difficult to make sure you're taking care of your mental health, to make sure you're taking care of your physical health. Finance is one part of that, you being that entire human being. You're not just that one part of you. So we really want our students to, this is what we want our students to work on and what we want to be there for students. One other thing that's really important to us is our integrity as educators for you. All of the resources that we use are evidence-based. We do not get paid by anyone for anything that we teach. I get paid no matter what, whether you come see me or not. I don't get paid if you pick a certain savings account, which bank you go to. You can trust that the information you get from us is high quality research and evidence-based. So what I want to talk about today, and some of the things that I think are really important for us to go over, is today we're going to talk about your money and emotions and how they go hand in hand. I think a lot of us like to think that we're very smart and logical beings, and we're always going to make the very best, most rational choice. But after work, on a long day, you've got kids at home that are going to be hungry, and you're thinking about having to feed them and take all that time. It's very tempting to go through the drive-thru. I am guilty of that. I teach this. This is my world. I talk about money all day long. I make emotional decisions with my money. That's not to say that's a bad thing. It's understanding those emotions and how we can make them work for us. The next thing I'm going to talk about is just some evidence-based tools of things that you can do right here and now to improve your finances. And then we're going to end talking about some resources and options for you as University of Utah students. So I've mentioned that when we look at you as a person, finances is just one piece of that. And we like to use the wellness wheel. This wellness wheel is shared by our Center for Student Wellness, and we use this same one because we at Financial Wellness Center are never going to tell you to never go out to eat, to never travel, to live in the cheapest place possible. We know that there's other factors that go into your life. And frankly, I don't want to live a life where all I do is pinch pennies. I think there's a lot of other important things in life. One of the things I like to say to students when they're looking at their budget and their finances is that you can do anything with your finances, but you can't do everything. You have to make priorities. You have to think about what values you have and put those up top. I personally absolutely love to travel. I think travel is one of the highlights of living. But when you look at it and you look at the numbers, travel is kind of a waste. You're spending all this money to go somewhere else in the world. And what do you get out of it? Just this experience, right? But it's definitely worth it to me. The experience that it gives me, the cultures I get to experience, the worldview that I have is changed when I travel. So I will make travel a very high priority in my budget, and I save every single month into my travel budget. That means, though, I've got to give up something somewhere else. If you've ever seen me driving onto campus, you see my clunky old mom car that I drive. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't spend a lot on my car. I take care of it, you know, do the maintenance on it, but I'm not ever going to own an expensive fancy car. It's not in my values. If that is in your values, that's okay too. It just means you're going to have to give up something somewhere else. You say yes to something, but that means you're going to have to say no or reduce that in some way. So when you come to the Financial Wellness Center, when you come to our workshops, when you interact with us, we're never going to tell you no, we're never going to judge you on those choices. We're just going to help you understand how your values play into it. Okay. The next thing we want to talk about is this financial well-being scale. I would love for everybody to either go to that website. If you're on the Zoom, I can put it in the chat. If you're here in person, you can use the QR code. And just take a quick minute. It's only a few questions, but it's going to help you understand your financial well-being. You don't have to share your results. This is just for you to think about with yourself. I think my QR code might have expired. Oh, bummer. Sorry about that. Let's get a new one. So this is provided by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is a government entity. It was created after the 2008 financial bubble burst as education and protection for consumers. This is going to give you an idea of how you assess your own financial well-being. And if it's helpful, it also does compare to other individuals based on your age range. It is quite broad in those ranges, but it can give you an idea of how you're doing. And one thing I really like about this is it asks the person how they perceive how they're doing. It does not ask you any financial details. It doesn't ask you how much you have in the bank. It doesn't ask you your credit score. It's assessing how you feel. And the reason why that is so important is that every person's situation is unique and subjective. What they're really looking for with this financial well-being is understanding if you have financial security and financial freedom of choice. So financial security would be having control over your day-to-day finances and that you can absorb a financial shock. If it was fall break last week and you take off work so you can do a little vacation with your family, you're not going to have financial ruin because of it. That could be a good financial shock. It could also be if your car breaks down, you have the resources to fix that. The other part that it measures is your financial freedom of choice. Are you able to meet your own financial goals? And everyone's financial goals are going to be different. Do you also have the freedom to make choices that allow you to enjoy life? Again, based off of your own thoughts and definition. So there are things you can do to improve this financial well-being score, but what this tells us is how you feel you're doing right now. We had a discussion in one of our staff meetings of why this is so important and why financial well-being can be different for everybody. And when we ask people, what does financial well-being mean to just you? Can be something like having enough food to eat. Maybe you grew up in a home where there was food insecurity and you didn't know if you'd have food after school. So being able to have that is how you feel like you're doing well financially. It could be that you can take a more flexible work arrangement. Maybe you don't have to work quite as many hours, or you can work from home some days. So you can balance family and work or school. That might be financial well-being for you. Being able to set and reach your financial goals. Having a safe place for your children to live could be your definition. Making sure you're investing for retirement. So there's so many different things that financial well-being can look like. It's important for you to understand why you're here at school. It's not just to earn more money. It is what that money can do for you. Are you in college to earn more money so that you can give your family a life you didn't get to have? Are you in college to have a job that lets you be flexible so you can take time off to go on vacations or raise a family? Really take that step further from just the money earning part of it and ask that next question. Once I get that higher income, what am I going to do with that to make my life the way that I want it? This is where this emotion and thinking are coming in. Right? It's not just about those numbers. It's not just that paycheck that you're hoping to get when you graduate. What are you going to do with that resource to make the life that you've always wanted? The way that we look at financial well-being, there are certain factors that go into it. There are some that are in our control and some that are not. Okay, so our financial well-being can be affected by what's happening in the economy right now. If you read the news, if you watch the markets right now, things are kind of rough, right? And if you are dealing with high inflation, which we are right now, and you get that sticker shock every time you go to the grocery store, that will affect your financial well-being. That's something that's out of our control. What's going on with our income, employment, that kind of thing. Also, there are some factors that can put us as disadvantaged from other people. If we don't come from a family that has generational wealth, we don't have that privilege. And so that can affect our financial well-being. Also, do you have a safety net? Do you have your own savings? When I talk to students, I do talk a lot about emergency funds. We will talk about that later, what that looks like, but some students have families that they can rely on as a safety net. And so they don't need to save as much for an emergency fund. But many of our students here at University of Utah don't have that. Maybe they don't have a good relationship with their family, or maybe their families don't have the resources to help out. When they need that rainy day fund, right? So they're gonna have to save more. So that's something that's also not so much in our control. The financial experiences we've gone through, if we've lost our money in a bank, we're not gonna wanna put our money back in a bank. That happened a lot after the Great Depression. So your grandparents, great grandparents may have experienced that. The one that we can have the most control over is our financial behaviors, skills, and attitudes. We can influence our income and employment. You're doing that by being here and investing in yourself. Another way you can improve your financial well-being while you're here, can you grow a financial skill? Can you work on your financial attitude? And what behaviors are you doing that's going to enhance your finances? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, especially financial attitudes. That might be something that you just go, what does that even mean? We're going to talk about what that is and why it's important for you to think about that. So that brings us to our next little quiz. We're going to talk about money attitudes through our money personality. We have done it as the Kardashian edition. So you're going to take these questions and you're going to get assigned one of the Kardashian family members of where you might fall. Now, the reason we do this is not a right or wrong. You might have a favorite Kardashian, but we're not trying to be a certain one. Why this is important is we want to understand our own attitudes so that we can work with it instead of working against ourselves. I don't want you to take this quiz and think there's something wrong with you if you get a spender versus the saver. There are good things and there are challenges with every single personality. But once you know your personality, can help you understand like, hey, I'm a security seeker. Sometimes I'm going to have to take a little more risk to get the investment that I want, to get the outcome that I want. Okay. So you're going to read through these. I have 3 slides with these statements. So we'll do the first one. If you read this statement and it rings true for you, I want you to tally, mark the letter. So the first one, I understand the difference between the things I want and the things I need. If that sounds like you, next to A, tally mark 1. We're going to tally them all up. So I'll let you guys do it one-on-one if you need a scratch paper or something, but let's see which one we end up being. All right, 10-second warning. We'll go to the next one. All right. All right, another 10-second warning. All right, this is the last slide with those questions. Just a few more. You're doing great. Okay. I really do think it is a good use of our time to just take these couple minutes and to just turn inward a little bit and ask these questions about ourselves. Again, remembering there's no right or wrongs, there's no good versus bad that we're going to get, but just knowing ourselves better. And I like to work with myself instead of against myself, lean into the good part of it and reduce the challenges that might come along. So if you are mostly A's, you are saver, which in the Kardashian world is a Courtney. You take pride in saving rather than spending. You enjoy watching your savings grow. You'd rather not buy something, even if you need it, than risk paying too much for it. You frequently choose less over more, and you can only spend money but get more satisfaction from having money left over. So you can spend money, but you do have more satisfaction of saving. So if on the surface, I go, being a saver is really good. I want to be a saver, but what are the challenges that might come? You might find it hard to treat yourself or even spend on essential things you might need. You might have trouble being generous to others. You could miss out on valuable opportunities and experiences. So remember, money's not just about the money, it's what it can do for you. And hoarding and keeping all of that instead of enjoying life, you might be missing out on some things. So you want to think about that as you're making your choices. If you got mostly B's, that means you are Kim, you are the spender. You do not agonize over spending money. You love to give gifts. You spend money as soon as it's available. You have a live for today attitude. You tend to see a deal in every transaction. If you've ever said to yourself, it's on sale, it's like they're paying me to take it, right? You know a good deal when you see it. Your spare cash goes to things that give pleasure to you and those you care about. So you are a generous person, but you might have trouble saving. You might have trouble controlling your debt. You may put too much emphasis on status. Your self-worth could depend too much on material things. So those are some of the challenges there. If you got mostly C's, you're Chloe, who is the security seeker. This is the one that I score high on. You like to play it safe. Before spending money, you need to feel like you've explored all of your options. Call it indecision fatigue sometimes, where you're just constantly trying to find every single option. You don't like to borrow or lend money, and you spend money but get more satisfaction by adding to your savings. Some issues you might have is you may overthink things. You may have difficulty seizing opportunities or being spontaneous. You may become overly focused on yourself. So I struggle with this, and so I have to be very careful when I'm making a decision and say, well, are you going into fear? Are you going into that security, or are you really making the best decision? A lot of times, if I can kind of stop some of that fear thinking, I can be more clear-headed and make a better decision. The D's would be a risk taker who is Caitlin. You tend to have an all or nothing mentality. You tend to see a deal in every transaction. You like to negotiate. You think that a big potential payoff makes a calculated risk worthwhile. You'd rather invest than save money. So some of the issues could be that you may need help setting limits when it comes to those financial transactions. You may become impatient and gloss over risks and problems, and you may end up losing money in the long run. We had a student we worked with at Financial Wellness Center who had this mentality that he was missing out on these deals and investing, and he took too big of a risk, and he put his tuition money into a cryptocurrency, and when his tuition bill came due, he had to sell at a very large loss in order to pay his tuition. Very expensive lesson learned, that there are times when you might gloss over that risk and not really think about what you might have needed. And we wish he would have come before he made that decision, but we helped him after the fact. If you got mostly E's, you are a giver, who is Chris. You focus on and enjoy helping others. You are generous with your own time and money. You feel responsible for others' well-being, and putting yourself first is hard to do. So you might have a hard time saying no, and you may ignore your own self-interest. So maybe if you get a raise at work and you have people in your life who want you to help support them more, but you're not taking care of yourself, that's something that could happen if you're a giver. The last one is if you got mostly F's. This is Kylie, our flyer. Money matters are of no interest to you. You like to explore and have new experiences. You are generous with your time and your money. Planning ahead seems like a drag. This lack of planning could cause problems. You might be too quick to give control over your money to others who do not act in your best interest. You may end up living beyond your means. It's good to have goals. It's good to want to experience things, but you also need to make sure that you're planning as well. So with these money personalities, what are some things we can do for it? We do have some advice for all money personalities, but I think all of us, no matter which one we landed in, can learn from this advice. If you're a saver, just remember that money is a means to an end, not the end itself. If you are a spender, finding ways to make saving and giving feel just as good as spending. If you're a security seeker, open up, take some risks. Doing well means doing good for me and my community. If you are a risk taker, slow down. Take some time to assess what could go wrong before you dive head first. If you're a giver, make sure you take care of yourself first, and then you can serve others. And if you're a flyer, reframing it and saying, if I take good care of my money, then I can do what I want. Okay. So take that advice and find ways that you can work it into your life. Any questions or thoughts on that? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next thing I want to mention are some things that you can do right now while you are in school to help build your financial behaviors, skills, and attitudes. I mentioned that all of the work and the resources we give you is all evidence-based. These are research-backed, evidence-based things that you can do every single day, that if you do this, your financial well-being will improve. So the first one is creating an emergency fund. I have found that I talk about emergency funds a lot. It's a lot of what I talk about students. I think it's a really important part of a financial plan. And it is so boring. No one wants to think about an emergency fund. Except for Claudia, she's convinced. They're hard. It's hard to have a chunk of money that you're so proud of that you've saved, and you don't get to do anything with it other than it helps you sleep at night, right? Get your emergency fund, get a plan, because once that in place, then you can start doing more fun things. Then we can talk about investing. Then we can talk about saving for these other things. But research has shown time and time again that if you have an emergency fund, your risk of a financial problem, of bankruptcy, of getting on the horrible credit card cycle is greatly reduced. So for me, I say, just get it done, then you can move on to more fun things. My emergency fund, I keep it in a separate account than all my other accounts. I have it in what's called a high yield savings account. These accounts are banks, they're federally insured, they're perfectly safe. They just don't have a physical location. I can't walk to this bank with an ATM card. I don't even have an ATM card. It's an online bank, and I can send you the link to look at some different options. Because they don't have a physical location, they do tend to get higher interest rate than what you get at your bank, at your savings account right now. Right now at your bank, you're probably getting 0.01%. You're probably getting a couple pennies. Right now, high yield savings accounts are at about 2.5% to 3%. It's not a lot, but it's not nothing, right? I make a couple $100 a year off my emergency fund. Do you know what I do with the interest? I buy myself something to say, good job, you kept that emergency fund, because it is hard to do. It is hard to get that. The rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses. So there is a bit of a range. If you are a single earning household, you tend to need a little bit more, because the biggest risk is you losing your income. If you're dual income, you may not need quite as much if you have 2 earners in the household, because the chances of both of you losing your job at the same time are pretty low. So you might only need 3 months of expenses. Look at your bare bones expenses and then have 3 to 6 months liquid. So this is not put in the stock market, somewhere boring, but if you put it in that high yield savings account, it's linked to your regular bank account. You can transfer back and forth between them. And so if you have some type of emergency, you can transfer the money over to your regular bank and pay for that emergency. What is an emergency? It would be something like a car repair. If you don't have a way to pay for it, so you still need to get to work, you can get your car fixed. Something big happens on your home, your dishwasher breaks, or you have a leak, something like that. If you have a large medical bill or a loss of income, those are examples of those emergency that you would need emergency savings for. Car registration is not an emergency because you know it's coming, you need to save up for it. That's not going to fall in that category, but it's just those unplanned large expenses that you cannot absorb in your regular budget. Okay, sorry that's written so small, but how are you going to get there? How are you going to reach that target? Start with a small and attainable goal. If you have a goal of $5,000, that's a lot of money to try and come up with. So break it down smaller and say, if I do, $200 a month, how quickly can I get there? Set a goal that says every extra money I get, if I get a larger paycheck this month, put that extra in until you reach that goal. So make sure you're starting small. Make it automatic. You know what days you get paid. So on the days you get paid, set up an automatic transfer into that high yield savings account. There's this thing that I mentioned before, that decision fatigue of having to make these choices over and over and trying to look at all the options. You'll talk yourself out of it 9 times out of 10 or half the time if you have to think about it. You get paid and you go, oh, I should put it in my emergency fund, but I forgot it's my aunt's birthday and we're going to go out, so I'm going to not save this time. If you make it automatic, the decision's made one time, automatically goes. Another thing you can do is to create friction between you and your emergency fund. So yeah. Yes, please.
Sorry.
No, come up. Yeah, come up by the microphone.
Hello.
Yes, creating that friction has been so awesome. Like, I can't tell you how good it feels to be able to save money. Like, for me personally, like, I have like my Mountain America and I'll have like my checking and my savings. And what was happening was that I kept pulling from my savings into my checking account. So I would like go to buy like, oh, that pair of shoes is $40. I don't have enough in my checking. Oh, but there's 40 in my savings. And it was just so easy to transfer money. And I got an Ally account about like 3 months ago, 2 months ago. I've been able to save $800 a month, which is like 25% of like my income. And it's crazy how like just not being able to have it available has like changed, like even like my like personal interactions with people. For example, someone was inviting me to go to Cross Eat Ranch like last minute, but I only have so much left in my checkings account. And they were like, oh no, you have to come, you have to come. And I was like, I can't because I don't have the money. And even though I have that $800 in my savings, I don't have that money to spend. So that was my friction advocacy. Do it. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Claudia. Yeah. So what happens, like she said, if you have it in your app and your checking and saving are instantly linked, you just transfer it back over, right? But her Ally account, which is her high yield savings, it's still connected. It'll still go to her bank, but it's going to take a few days. And that's actually a good thing. So creating that friction is you're kind of making that decision harder. Usually we want to reduce friction, right? You want to go work out in the morning. So the night before you set out your workout clothes, get everything ready to make it easier. But when you want to make the decision harder, you add friction where you can. Thank you for sharing that. Also, one thing to think about is make sure you don't over save. The emergency fund is great and it is important to have, but it's just one of your goals in your financial life. Once you have that solid emergency fund, there's no need to keep adding to it. If you take some out, you need to replace it. But once you've hit that emergency fund, then you move to the next goal, which is probably investing, wanting that money to grow. Okay. The next thing that we want you to do to improve your financial well-being is to build up your confidence. Confidence in your ability to reach goals, confidence in your ability to make wise financial decisions. So you want to make sure you're getting things done. You guys are already doing that. You've already done that. You've already made this huge decision to invest in yourself by going to college. You're giving us an hour of your time to learn about finances. So you're already on your way. Build on that. Recognize that. Sometimes we think that we have to have it all figured out, but sometimes we just need to make that next right decision. Do the next right thing. Sometimes we're going to think about the future, but sometimes we're going to think about the now. Okay. So I'm kind of have both of those up there. Do the next right thing and think long term. Whichever one is going to help you get to your goal, stick with that one. You want to make sure that you get into a habit of saving. You want to make sure that you're saving, which means not spending all of your income. Even after you've hit that emergency fund, you really want to get in that habit. Making sure you pay yourself first, using technology to your advantage. This is where we reduce that friction. You want to save, so you set up those automatic transfers. And really be honest with yourself about wants versus needs. Being careful that you don't turn a want into a need. Telling yourself that I need this, just being really honest. I used to say, this shows you how long I've been teaching. I used to say that like having a smartphone was a luxury. I don't believe that anymore. I think that we can't function at school, at work without it. However, that does not mean that you need the newest version right when it comes out. So you walk that line, have that difference. You also want to make sure you're being very careful with your day-to-day money management, where your money's coming in and out every day. So creating a budget, creating a spending plan. First, you want to plan out your earnings, savings, and spending. You want to record that money, where it's saved and where it's spent, and just constantly observing yourself to keep yourself on track. The Financial Wellness Center is starting a budget challenge, and I will have the link at the end of this. That starts tomorrow. If you want to get 5 weeks, 5 steps of how to build day-to-day money management, sign up for this. It is completely free. It goes to your email. If you complete it, you're entered to win a gift card. It's a win-win-win. Great way to build those skills. Finally, you want to make sure that you're looking at different time horizons. What are your short-term, your midterm, and your long-term goals? Making sure that they all feed into one. You want to make sure that your goals are in alignment with your values, and that the habits and things you're doing now are all building towards those. One of the most interesting situations I think that students find themselves in is that they have 2 opposing sides to them that they're taking care of right now. They have you in the present, you in the future. You are giving up a lot right now, your present self, so that your future self is going to have a better life. So I really want you to think about that while you're here. And you're already investing and giving up so much. So making sure you're taking advantage of the resources and skills that we have here at University of Utah that you're learning about in this transfer week. Finally, the last things that I want you to do are to increase your financial knowledge and skill. Find good things to listen to, podcasts, audiobooks, that kind of thing. Read. You can read and learn about the economy. You can read and learn about credit cards. Just reading, learning more before you make these decisions, and always asking questions, and especially going to high quality resources. Okay. Just because I'm running out of time, the last thing I wanted to mention was just reiterating some of those services that Claudia mentioned. This is a link. I don't know if that QR code is going to work. It's going to be kind of small on there. But November 9th, we are doing a workshop on using credit cards wisely. One thing we found with University of Utah students is there's a fear and a misunderstanding of how credit cards can be used. Our belief is that credit cards are a tool. Just like a hammer can be used to build something amazing, a hammer can be used to destroy something. The hammer isn't the problem, it's how it's used. So we want to arm our students with the skills that they need to use credit cards as a tool to help them reach their goals. So that's what we're going to talk about at that workshop. So please sign up if you'd like that. And then here's that link to the 5-week budget challenge. And then we also, for spring semester, want to start an investing group. This group will meet 3 times throughout the semester to reach their financial investing goals. So the first time you're going to learn about investing ways you can start. The second time you'll have opened an account, started investing. And then the third time you'll come together and talk about your next steps. We're really hoping to help students who want to start investing find a way to do it. So that we're just gathering emails. So we don't have the specifics on that yet. We're just finding students who are interested and motivated to start investing. Last thing, some things that you can do. These are the things that Claudia mentioned. Make an appointment, come meet with me. I would love to sit and talk to you about any finance questions that you have. I know that these topics can be very general, but when we talk about this, when you realize you want more, make that one-on-one appointment. It is completely confidential. We won't tell financial aid. We won't tell your teachers, your parents, your spouse, anything like that. It's all confidential and covered in your student fees. Okay, that is about my time. This is a evaluation link for us. We just like to know that we're helping. We want to know if there's things we can do to improve. We also have some questions on what you might be interested in learning. So if you want to fill that out so we can make sure we're bringing the content that you want, we would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time. Any questions that anybody has while we finish up?
What's the difference between the financial wellness center and financial?
So Claudia asked, what's the difference between us at the Financial Wellness Center and the financial aid office? Thank you for asking. Financial aid is more about finding how to pay for school. So they will help you with FAFSA grants and loans. We can also help with that, but we're trying to look not just at your school expenses, but your life expenses as well. But we have a very good relationship with financial aid, and we can also help with those concerns as well. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, everyone. It was wonderful to see some of your smiling faces, some of your thumbs up. Thanks.
Yeah.